America wants nice and calm. You're almost there.
Yeah, I did it. I cried 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it. Let's take it to the stage.
You dig it? You knock a dude down, you get some respect.
Shit, I thought it was off. Hey, listen, all right, so happy Monday. Hey, Curtis, I see you. Hey, listen, so the point really is on the on my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports, I have a series called Divest from the Democrat Party. I've been talking about this thing for a lot of years. And since the State of the Union address, we kind of know who loves America more than the other, but we're going to still explore it a little bit here. So, I think it's clear that you will have one party that's more in tune with ideology and political identity politics and feel-good bullshit, and another one that says, well, what's best for all Americans and what could propel us in the future. So what I did was I did this rant. And I'm going to play the rant for you guys as to me trying to recreate it, because sometimes when you have some kind of rant, you can't do better than the first time, So I'm not, can you hear me now, Curtis? Because I think I'm on now. Yeah, I'm sure I'm on. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to play the rant for you because it's a little long. And it's going to play right into the president asking a question that the Democrats answered loud and clear with their silence. And then we're going to go through a few other things. So bear with me as we do that. And let's go ahead and get that cracking. So listen up. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. Here we are again after the State of the Union address. And I just wanted to pick out just a piece of it when he asked everybody to stand up. Now, if you see this thumbnail, just to give you a little background history, it says divest from the Democrat Party. And before I give you all the details, just like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you come in for a few seconds, a few minutes or whatever, hit the like button, But one of the things I wanted to say is when I first started the divestment series a couple of years ago, my primary focus was to get Black folks from off the plantation, voting for Democrats willy-nilly, without really looking at the policies, thinking that there's some kind of safe haven under some covering of some liberal Democrats. And there's nothing further from the truth, just to go back in history, most Black folks, me included, was born into the Democrat Party because our parents voted Democrat. After the New Deal, everybody started to vote Democrat, especially after the Civil Rights Bill. And a lot of people forget that it was a Republican who broke the filibuster to pass that on to LBJ. But here's the point. Somewhere along the line, we had Obama became president, and most of us voted for Obama just because he was Black. It turns out he did more for the alphabet mafia than he did for Black folks anyway. And one of the biggest things that the so-called Black gatekeepers keep missing is that there's a strong bigotry in the Democratic Party that Black folks need them. We're too dog shit stupid to do anything on our own. And so we need their protection. And or we're just too dumb and we need them to hold our hands to move and make our way in the world. And I feel kind of upset that it took me up to the election, the campaign of Hillary Clinton. I voted for her, by the way, over Donald Trump, because I was still believing the bullshit that was coming down from liberal Democrats. And so after a while, you started to listen a little bit more and forget about your skin color and think about, we're Americans. And there's probably no more Americans, just like white folks, who have receipts that the fruits of this country belong to us as much as anybody else. We have receipts. We got hundreds of years of receipts of working this country for free. So when the country has fruit to bear, we as Black folks need to be chomping at the bit to get as many of those fruits as we can, based on meritocracy and all that kind of stuff. And we don't need fucking guys like Gavin Newsom telling us that he's like us because he can't get over 900 on the SAT. That shit's embarrassing. Or get the Democrats to tell us we're too dog shit stupid to get fucking IDs, right? Black folks getting IDs for anything they want. A car, Mondani, the communist, says, you know what? You need 5 forms of ID to shovel the snow because he's not ready to do it for New York with the money they pour into the coffers. You need 5 forms of ID, but to vote, you don't need any. I mean, just think about the hypocrisy, the stupidity, and the sad part about it is so many Black people. Let me also add, I want to add this too, and I didn't. I want to add the fact that, now the new trope is that women who change their name because they're married can't vote. And when has that been an issue? I mean, I with all the mothers and wives and all the people who've been voting for the last 60 years that I've been alive, I haven't heard that until now. So these guys are pulling out all the stops. Now, women, the most educated, the most this and the most that, they can't find IDs because they changed their name. And the funny and ironic thing about it, right, is that most of the women today don't even want to change their names when they get married, if they ever do. So how is that a thing? So, I mean, the Democrats are pulling out all the stops because the bottom line is they want illegal aliens to vote so they can get more votes in the election. They want them to be counted in the census, and they want to find a way to sneak them into the polls so they can get votes by giving them all kinds of free shit, right? Because as Black folks, we do know that we love free shit. So that's why so many Blacks have been voting for Democrats throughout the years, because they want free shit, like we're all socialists. So let me go ahead and continue. So there's no holds barred for these fucking people. They'll vote like lemmings for these assholes who look down on us. And they call it the soft bigotry of low expectations, but there's nothing soft about it. It's hard. It's like a Trojan horse. The liberal Democrats, Malcolm X said it best. Our biggest enemy is a liberal Democrat. He said white liberal Democrats, but I think it's all liberal Democrats. I think especially the Black ones, like Brandon Johnson, Mayor Karen Bass, and all of these folks, and all the celebrities that go with them, they hate us as Black people because they turn on us at every turn for the money, clout, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, we need to look a little bit differently as that we do. So now, looking at Trump, I don't have to like Trump to understand that the policies that he was talking about on the campaign trail are better for all Americans, not just Black Americans, but all Americans. Having a sovereign nation, having the borders closed, getting illegals out of the country, it costs money. Even if they're not, they're criminals. The Democrats tell you, well, Americans commit crimes too. So we should just allow, foreigners to come in and turn our country into a shithole because Americans commit crimes too. I mean, that's their comeback on that. And the biggest thing is that we could prevent foreigners from killing American people by not letting them in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm already rambling more than I want to. I want to go back to the State of the Union when Trump asked people to stand up. Do you believe in Americans? Do you believe in them keeping Americans safe? Or do you'll stand up and clap? And this picture is the picture of the Democrats saying, nah, you know what? We want foreigners. To hell with Americans. We need a new voting bloc. Because let me also tell you, the last election, if every single Black person who voted cast a vote for a Democrat, Trump would have still won the election. He would have lost one state by a slim margin. I forgot which state it was, but he only lost one state. So the Black Power voting bloc is getting weaker and weaker because, hopefully a little bit because I know it's not because of me, but more and more Black men are saying there's nothing in the Democrat Party for us, really, And as far as Black women is concerned, that 92% of them voted, for Kamala Harris because she cosplayed as a Black woman. So, anything that affirms them, they're going to vote for, whether it's the Alphabet Mafia, whether it's open borders. If it makes them feel good, they're going to vote for it, whether it's good for them or not. As far as Black men, we don't have such luxuries, just like no men do. We have to make our own way. So the policies that America has is important to us. So I got a couple of things here. One, I'm going to go through the 5 minutes or so of Trump asking people to stand up. Everybody's seen this by now. And hopefully they have this shit on, autoplay when it comes time to vote. Because I'm not conceding the midterms. We cannot let the Democrats get power again because they're telling you what they're going to do. Just like Trump told you what he was going to do. If he got power, he actually stuck by what he said. He was going to close the borders, get the illegals out, declare that there's only two genders, which I'm for, stop the mutilation of children, which I'm for, and get rid of cashless bail, which I'm for. It's just a lot of stuff that makes sense to me, and the Democrats have nothing. They want open borders, everything goes. We could mutilate our children. We could take sovereignty away from their parents. We can put sex books at third graders to read. We could do all kinds of liberal bullshit. And we could be an open rebellion against the federal government to make sanctuary cities so the worst of the worst can hide there and be safe from justice because we're going to protect them. And that's exactly what's going on. So I want to, and you know what? Thank God, a lot of the sheriffs around the country are starting to say, wait a minute, this is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. We don't want that. We're not going to protect criminals because you have a political ideology against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is only going to be around for 3 more years. America hopefully, thank God, we'll be around for a lot longer than that. So how we vote matters. It's got to be bigger than Trump. It does. You either want a sovereign nation or we don't. That's the bottom line. And the policies matter. They matter. So I'm just go ahead and, rambling, just hit the like button. Listen, when I do these things, I'm just a regular fucking asshole, who lives in America for a few years, right? I'm in my 60s. I'd like to see the country keep going for the young folks. And it can't be a strong country if we don't have any borders, we don't have any sovereignty. We let the worst of the worst from other countries come here, take root, and give them more clout than we give our actual citizens. I can't see us doing that. And we were close. We saw what it looked like under Biden. And I'm going to remind you again what it looked like with those open borders. We can't forget. Like we got these short memories because whoever has the best soundbite is the one we gravitate towards. Can you remember the open borders and just people just flocking and trampling over this thing? And think about if it was your front door. And think about the borders of the United States as your own home, as you should, on a macro level. How many people can just hang out in your crib, man? How many? And you wouldn't even have to be that impersonal. How many of your family members, even if you have some kind of love, your cousins and shit like that, could just hang out at your crib? You don't know how they were living. You're going to just open your door and just let them just hang out because that's, they want to do better. So there's got to be expectations. Anyway, so let me go ahead and I'm going to just go ahead and get started with what Trump, Trump's thing and what he said. And you guys could stay here and listen to it, hit the like button, or you could leave, But I'm going to play and I'm going to go through what I have here. I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to remind you of what it looks like when all these Democrats sat down, what it looked like under 4 years of Biden, with people rushing the borders. Okay? and the fact that we didn't need new legislation, we didn't need any of that shit. We just needed a president to say, you know what, I'm going to close the borders. And he did it within a month. Resolve. And because it's Trump, people hate to, listen, I don't have to love Trump. His policies are better. They were better. Now, I wish he was a different character kind of guy because that would take all the excuses away from the Democrats. Okay? But, we got what we got. We got what we got. And the people voted for him overwhelmingly across the country. So anyway, enough of me rambling. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, if you will, because I go live every so often. And I'm just talking off the cuff. I don't have no script. I don't have none of that stuff. Just sometimes, you remember that movie Network? You just say, shit, I'm pissed off and I don't want to take it anymore. I don't need Gavin Newsom telling me that he relates to me because I'm black and I can't do an SAT score. I don't need President Biden saying, if I don't vote for a Democrat, I ain't black. Who the fuck does he think he is? I don't need somebody telling me I'm too dog shit stupid to get an ID, a birth certificate, and all that kind of stuff that we need to just have normal lives. If you're a black person, you should be just pissed off that somebody's talking down to you. I don't want to let nobody talk down to me like that condescending bullshit. And we got a whole political party telling us that we're fucking assholes. And the black gatekeepers who reinforce that bullshit. And I'm, what? I'm not supposed to curse and shit, but I don't care, man. This is a real world. It's a real world. So anyway, here's my man, Trump, saying what he's saying. And let me do this. Let me do that. Let me go ahead and start it because let me stop this for a second, right? The reason why, like I said, sometimes when you rant, you can't really reproduce it. So this is me. I'm back here. Listen, I'm going to let Trump's thing play. I might cut it short. But I think this is the defining moment. I don't know if it's going to change the midterms because people have short memories. But if I was a Republican running for office, I'd have this shit on speed dial. I'd be playing it all the time. Because I think the Democrats told you that Americans could eat shit and die as when it comes to their own ideology. And you see Ilhan Omar, and her other person up there talking shit all the way through the being disrespectful, just like a lot of women are to men. And, it's just shameful. So they made their choices. They made their bed. And I'm going to cover this and a couple other things because I'm going to show you what happened at the border just in case you freaking forgot. And then we're going to go through that. And we're going to go through a couple of things. And there's another black woman saying, you know what? We should let illegals in because Americans kill people. So if they kill a few, it's okay. So we can't have these people back in office, man. We just can't. So whoever's out there, whether you like Trump or not, you got to decide what kind of America you want. Do you want all kinds of shit? Then I'm going to show you the list. Who loves America more? We're going to go down a list. If you're still around here, we're going to go item by item on what one party stands for and what the other party stands for, what conservatives stands for, what liberals stand for, what socialists stand for, and what capitalists stand for. You got to make your own decision, because I'm telling you, like I said, if Trump had a different character, if he was a different character, man, we wouldn't be talking about none of this shit. People would be enamored with all the shit that's going on right now. People the Democrats especially, just hate him because they hate the man. They'd rather see America burn because they had Trump. And it's just irrational. It's irrational. All right, so let's roll. It's like 5 minutes long. You all seen it before. You all seen it. This is part of me, just as a copy of my old live.
It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Murderers all over our who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
So let me stop it right there. Okay, we all get the point of that one, right? He was on point. I mean, what can you say? He was absolutely on point. And we have a bunch of sanctuary states. And here's where the Republicans went wrong. I don't see why they didn't challenge sanctuary status in the courts. I believe it's unconstitutional for any state to say, you know what, I'm going to break with the federal government and we're going to do what the hell we want. We're going to protect illegal aliens from in sanctuary. Sanctuary means you're given protection. These governors and these mayors, they're in open rebellion to the federal government. I mean, I don't think we've seen this as bad. We didn't see it at all, but wasn't the Civil War about that? And I'm not saying we should go to arms. I'm saying when the Confederate States went against the federal government because they wanted to have to govern the way they wanted to govern, the country went to war over that shit. So maybe this is an ideological war that we're going to right now. But what I'm saying is, it's dumb. Why? Why are we doing this? Okay, so I have another clip that I want to play, and we're going to do that right now. And that's the clip from that. We're going to take this one down. And we're going to go to the clip of the open borders just to go back when, the guys were running across the border willy-nilly and nobody gave a shit, man. Well, people did, but we allowed it. The government allowed it. And it was crazy. It was absolute madness. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is just a minute of this shit. And this is back in the day under the Biden administration.
That is what federal.
Well, when I say back in the day, we're talking about a year, 2 years, 4 years of this shit. And it took Trump 1 month to shut this shit down. So, this wasn't by happenstance, right? The Democrats spent billions of dollars to try to develop a new voting bloc by bringing in millions of fucking illegal aliens, passing them through the gates in any way they could, giving them sanctuary, spending out tax dollar money, and giving them free shit so they can get enamored, just like the people who was voting for the Democrats before, because who's going to vote against people giving them free shit? Nobody. And so that was the plan. And so this is what Biden was doing, and the cosplay lady, Kamala Harris, was his sidekick.
Officials say they are encountering at the U.S. southern border on average in December. That's among the highest numbers ever recorded. And with multiple.
Okay, by the way, this is CNN. This ain't Fox. This is a liberal CNN station, one of the most despicable stations out there. So whatever they're saying, they scrubbed it. And, they couldn't even be biased if they wanted to, because the numbers just didn't lie.
Border entry points remaining closed as the surge at the southern border escalates. U.S. officials now warning that the situation is nearing a, quote, breaking point. Ed Lavandera is out front.
10,000 migrants a day across the border. Did you see those, the Democrats who sat down, the liberal Democrats, the socialists sitting down when presidents said what he said? Do you have any doubt that we'll be seeing this shit again if those fucking guys get back in office? Do you have any doubt that this is going to happen again so they can get a new block of voters, so they can disenfranchise the lowest of the lowest here in the United States, take the tax dollars like Chicago did, which is in a budget deficit, like New York did, which is in a budget deficit. And both of those cities had black mayors who had the majority of votes from black people. And the first thing they did was stick it up their ass, okay? Brandon Johnson is stuck his ships. And listen, and Mondani wants to raise taxes on the poorest of New Yorkers by almost 10%. And guess what? Because most of the migrants were illegal, they sent there because of the southern states just bust them out there, right? And then they got free healthcare, free housing, free food, free EBT, free this, free that, all on the backs of the poorest Americans. And they undercut the jobs. So this is what you're going to get. And they proved it to you, right? They sat down there and said, hey.
Apprehensions of migrants crossing the southern U.S. border are once again reaching record levels. A Department of Homeland Security official tells CNN the average number of encounters in the last week is 9,600 per day. This rate of apprehensions has not been seen since earlier this year, in the days before the lifting of the COVID-era restriction known as Title 42.
All right, so that's enough, man. I don't know how much more you got to be reminded of the disaster that was for 4 years when we had Weekend at Bernie's at the presidency. And then he had his sycophant chick as his vice president, who was supposed to be the border czar, who never visited there. You know, I mean, at some point, we got to stop being useful dupes, right? I mean, you got to pick a party, yeah, but what are the policies and not the personalities that matter? You know? And I was one of those guys who said, listen, Biden was more racist than Trump ever has been. And he's got receipts to show, up to and including that he didn't want his kids to go to school with black people. He's on record, man, doing a eulogy for Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard or some shit like that. You know, so all I'm just trying to say is, you know, racism is not our biggest issue anymore. It really isn't. It really isn't. And black folks have to start to understand that, hey, listen, we can't just live based on the color of our skin. It's more important to listen. There's a whole bunch of black folk who feel sorry for Ilhan Omar, right? Look, she doesn't give a shit about skin color, because back in Somali, one Somali tribe was exterminating another one. They all had brown skin, black skin. So it ain't about the skin color. It's about ideology. So anyway, listen, so I just wanted to show a couple of pieces. And here's one last piece I want to show. There's one last one I want to show. And it's from a guy who's a conservative pundit. And it's just a couple of minutes of what he has to say. And we're going to show him, and then we'll just get to the end of this thing. I just wanted to rant, and I just wanted to remind people what we had before. And it's not about President Trump. He's absolutely right on the border. He's absolutely right on illegal immigrants. And the fact that we see so much consternation in the blue states is because the governors and the mayors are in open rebellion against the federal law, and they tell their state and local police not to cooperate with detainers. And when you do that, and then you put a battery in the back of your people, it leads to obstruction of justice. And in Minneapolis, it led to the death of 2 people who should not have died, because the battery should have never been put in their back for the ideology of the mayor and the governor. Yeah, you know, they're the ones who precipitated all that issues in the streets. And as soon as they buckled to Trump saying, and to Home saying, listen, all this shit will stop. We'll send all these ICE agents away and the people to protect them if you just let us go to the jails and pick up the criminals. And once they said yes to that, was the last riot you saw on the street in Minneapolis. Right? You don't think there was illegal immigrants in red states? Why didn't have these protests in the red states? Because they cooperated with the federal government. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And I think that, you know, I believe some of the mayors and the governors should be arrested. I really believe that, for sedition. If you look up sedition, you'll see some of their faces in there. So that's my theory. All right, so what's the last one? Here's the last one. This is the last one I'm going to show. My man, where's he at? There we go. All right, so just the beginning of what he has to say is pretty good. A couple of minutes of him. And go to his channel, because this guy's pretty good, man. He's a kind of really good kind of guy. Let's go.
Breaking news coming out of the state of Maryland. Local sheriffs are now calling out the governor and local officials after cooperation with ICE has been banned. They are claiming innocent people are now going to get hurt. This all comes as Democrats are now demanding publicly mass amnesty for the millions of illegal aliens that crossed over the border under Joe Biden. Let's start with what the sheriff had to say. Take a listen.
This is nothing more than politics
over public safety. And we as elected sheriffs are fed up with it. You don't see this many sheriffs in one location in the state at any given time. But we have to come together in unison to stop the ridiculousness that's going on up here in Annapolis, Maryland. And lawmakers need to wake up and realize Marylanders and the American people want public safety over politics, and they're not getting it.
So this is.
Let me just stop it right there. Do you know how it has to feel for a law enforcement official to be told to let a criminal loose because your mayor and your governor hates Donald Trump? They didn't do that. They didn't do that to Obama. You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen. These are cops. When they see an ICE agent, they see a border agent, they see other cops. They are a fraternal order, man, of cops. And so when they hear some bureaucratic asshole says, you got to let this rapist, this criminal, this murderer, you're not going to, don't hold him because we don't care about his immigration status. Let him go. Mayor Wu in Boston spent all the money on illegal aliens. And so they don't even have money for public defenders. So they're letting thousands of criminals back on the street. To you fucking people, man. They're in your neighborhoods. They're in our neighborhoods. And they're telling the cops to stand down. That's traitorous, man, just because they want votes. And then they want to govern you after that, after your blood is in the streets. I mean, come on. I don't care whether you like Donald Trump or not.
And lawmakers need to wake up and realize Marylanders and the American people want public safety over politics, and they're not getting it.
So this is another heartbreaking plea from a sheriff, a law enforcement official who is actually contradicting what the state representatives and the governor wants. We're talking about Governor Wes Moore, that is. Okay, this sheriff is dead on about what he is stating. I'm going to go to a particular quote from another sheriff who also said this. They want to do everything they can to handcuff law enforcement, handcuff sheriffs across the state. I mean, guys, we've seen this and what happened under the Biden administration when he opened up the border and refused to allow Border Patrol to do their jobs. What happens in the end? Innocent people get hurt. The results are disastrous. They're literally doing this again in real time, and hope people are taking note of that. And so let's go to this next clip where you get to witness the mindset behind these type of policies that are disastrous. They don't really care about illegal aliens killing American citizens. Take a listen.
He is supposed to represent all people.
When you go through some of the moments he went to, right, he pointed to a little girl, Delilah, who was almost killed by an illegal alien, miraculously came back. She was there with her dad. When you have Democrats who won't stand and applaud her recovery, yeah, I think that's
Sadly,
crazy.
people are killed in America every day. Sadly. And the majority of them are killed by U.S. citizens. So whether I don't understand that.
Yeah, listen. Okay, I know some of you out here in the audience for your ideology might not see the demonic bullshit that this black woman just said. Since Americans kill other Americans, how can we be mad for foreign illegals to kill more Americans? Something that could be prevented by not letting them in the first place. Nothing goes to zero. But can you see the horns growing out of this fucking woman's head? Do you want her to be the kind of person to lead this country into the future? This kind of woman, this kind of liberal bullshit, you know, I'm serious. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to like Trump. This is a mindset that permeates millions of people who want to take power again. It's criminal. And this is a CNN, so this woman is outgunned even by Abby Phillips and, you know, where's Scott Jennings when you need him?
Undocumented immigrant,
I'm saying
whether it's an undocumented immigrant or a U.S. citizen who's the perpetrator, the bottom line is somebody has died or someone has been
One died as a
seriously
result
injured.
of bad.
All right. Well,
Yeah. So again, you could go to Devori Dawkins, his link. I'll put it in the description. This guy's a good pundit, and he's fair actually when he talks. You know, he's a conservative, but he likes to show both sides. I don't even know if I could have stomached just watching that sister saying the shit that she said. She's the kind of person who put the worst of the worst back in the black neighborhood for her ideology. You know what I'm saying? I don't see how, you know, at some point we got to divest black folks. We got to divest from the Democrats. And I don't care whether you think the Republicans are more racist and all that. Nothing is more racist than a person who thinks lower of you and is willing to see bloodshed in your communities, high crime, just for ideology. All right, so let me stop that. You know what I'm saying? You stop that there. You know, I mean, so that was my rant. You know, I had a little rant there, and this is what I want to go into next. Okay, so I'm back. All right, so you know, who loves America more? Okay, and so how do we measure that? Well, we could look at a few policies. You know, we can. If you want to, we could look at a few policies. Who loves America more? You know, so let's look at this. So can y'all see this? Yeah, y'all can read that. All right, so if you're a liberal, Democrat, socialist, or Republican, conservative, capitalist, and I put them all out there because there's different flavors of Republicans and conservatives. And so same thing with liberals. Some won't even call themselves Democrats. Some people call themselves independent. You know what I'm saying? So let's look at it. Let's just go down the list. The Democrats are for open borders. I'm not saying this. We saw it, right? They can't deny it. We saw it. We lived through it. We lived through 4 years of open borders. Let everybody, give us everybody we can so we can bilk the American people so we could have new voters. Okay, so we saw that. Republicans want secure borders. You know, secure borders make America safe, right? Secure borders is just one of the few things we ask our government to do for us, is to keep the borders secure. Well, okay, so they want unfettered immigration. Not just whether these guys can get in. They want to give asylum and all kinds of shit to just any and everybody, right? Not just legal immigration. They got all these other riders on it, right? But hey, conservatives don't have any issue with legal immigration. If you're over on a visa, you can stay on the visa until it expires. You either get it renewed by a sponsor or you got to go back home. You want to come in this country, go through a port of entry if you have the right kind of reason, asylum or whatever, or if you were one of the lucky 1 out of 10 or 20, whatever, to get a green card to come in and establish residency, those are legal means. Now, should the system be improved or the pipeline open a little bit for the bandwidth? Maybe. You know, but that's the only immigration that we should all be fighting for, and it shouldn't be that complicated. You know, we have all these other riders like temporary status. Well, temporary is the key word in that. You know, and it does, one size doesn't fit all. For example, we can't send the Haitians back to Haiti. I can freely admit to that. They can't send the Haitians who are here under TPS back to Haiti. There's nothing for them to go back to. But that might not be the same for Venezuelans or for some other people who have TSP, temporary protection status. It's not one size fits all. Okay, gender affirming care, child mutilation. The Democrats are for gender affirming care, child mutilation. They will take your preteen and your toddler and start teaching them and all this shit, the bullshit that goes along with it. They're for that. And that's why I understand any man, especially any black man, and I shouldn't say especially any black man, I can't see any man agreeing with this shit. Okay? I can't see anybody being a part of a party that agrees to mutilate children. You know, I really can't. Well, the conservatives, you know what? He said, fuck that. We got to stop that. You know, so he got an executive order stopping that, which has to pass through to be codified, right? The Democrats strip parental authority. They have cases of children transitioning, underage kids and transitioning, and their parents are powerless to do anything about it. Get the fuck out of here. Right? So that's another thing. Then an unlimited number of sexes. If somebody could make up a word and say that's what they are, that's a new sex, and they must be protected. Well, Trump said, well, you know what, God and everybody else said there's only two sexes. Just two. Uncomplicate life. If you think you're something else, you have gender dysphoria, you have some kind of issue that you need to try to get corrected, or live with it. We should not be changing laws based on people who have illnesses. Right? So there you go. That's one side. Same-sex marriage. Right? They say marriage is between a man and a woman. Even your beloved Obama, I don't know who put a gun to his head or whatever and made him change his mind, but he was against same-sex marriage. Now, you know what? I can honestly say, you know, I don't give a shit. But it didn't just stop there. Right? I mean, what did you want to do? If you want to be miserable with your same-sex spouse, that's your business. But it just didn't stop there. They want to start changing laws and all that shit, putting that bullshit in children's books. Pablo has 6 dads and that kind of shit. Man, get the fuck out of here, man. Unfettered, unrestricted abortion on demand. None of us has body autonomy. Nobody does. So I think that abortion should be by exception. And we know what those exceptions are. Okay, so yeah, and I'm a man, I can say that. Right? Because women want to vote on every fucking thing that they have nothing to do with. So I can say that, yeah, it should be abortion by exception. I think that, and we all know what those exceptions are, and when the conservatives cut into those exceptions, then I have a problem with that, because you can't torture somebody and make them live through a torture that they don't need to be if they were raped or incest and all that kind of stuff. You can't do that. But it shouldn't be used as birth control either. Cashless bail, right? Just letting people free, and put them on a buddy system that they're going to come back when their court date is due. That shit don't work. It's a gateway. It's a gateway to telling people, you know what, you could steal $1,000 worth of stuff, and we're not gonna prosecute you. I think they just tried to change that in California a little too late, right? If you commit a crime, you should have the requisite punishment that goes with it, and you don't have bail. The only thing that's the issue that needs to be resolved is the bandwidth of giving people speedy trials. And listen, just a little bit of thought for like petty crimes. There's no reason in the world they can't use moot courts in colleges to help adjudicate some of those cases. With all those fucking people trying to be lawyers, and they have those moot courts, you can set up those courts just like they do on TV, sanction them, and maybe handle a lot of cases that don't need to have the big dockets. So there's low-hanging fruits to fix some of that stuff, but we should not be letting criminals go free and expect them to come back to face the music on their own. So look, the Democrats' list is full of bullshit, man. Sanctuary cities. I think they're unconstitutional. I think it should be unconstitutional for willing to defy the federal government when it comes to criminals. and illegal aliens. Yeah, the 10th Amendment doesn't cover everything. It just doesn't. It's not a blanket, right? Just like the Second Amendment is not the blanket. Just like the First Amendment, as big as it is, it's not a blanket for you to do anything you want without consequence. You know, so we need to, this is the Republicans, by the way. The Republicans should have actually taken the sanctuary cities, the whole sanctuary status to the Supreme Court. You know, they should have. I don't know why they didn't. They still can. Well, they should have found an activist judge to say this shit is unconstitutional. Right? The Democrat Party wants a permanent underclass of voters. They need to have people that are in a constant state of victimization so they could act as saviors. And unfortunately, the black people for the last 60 years have been the biggest dupes in the whole world. That's why 92% of the women still vote Democratic. They ain't doing much better. They think they are, but they're not. You know, they clung to feminism. Black men have been down and used it as an excuse. Now it's starting to stand up and saying, you know what, fuck that. There's got to be a better way. There's nothing in the Democratic Party for black men. Nothing. And not even the black woman, to tell you the truth, not hardly anymore. Not a marriageable one, right? What's the next one? The bigotry of low expectations. That's all part of it. Your two dogs shit stupid to get an ID. Jasmine Crockett's your ass. She's getting her Negro wake-up call, by the way. You know, they speak down to you, so because you can't handle 5-syllable words, 3-syllable words. So there's just bigotry all around. They need a permanent underclass. And, you know, black people have been the biggest dupes. You can't get ahead because that albatross of slavery is around your neck. And the Democrats want to remind you that it's never going to be lifted if you go with the Republicans. That's what they try to tell you. Right? So they pick ideology over American citizens. Well, we saw that. We just saw that. You know, I don't even have to say anything more. DEI hiring, guess what? Jackie Sherrill, she became the governor of New Jersey. And the very first thing she did was put a lesbian woman in charge of the state troopers, I believe. Now, I didn't do my numbers, but I would imagine that women in general and lesbian women in particular are probably less than 1% of the state trooper force. But she found one to be in charge of all the state troopers. So that means that there were no qualified men more qualified than the 1% lesbian woman that she put in charge. So DEI is still more important. The more women we put in place, that's the very first thing they do. You know? So wait a minute a second. Yeah, you're the brainwashed one. That's why you're arguing. Hey, the link is dropped. You know, bring your ass up here and tell me why I'm brainwashed. I'm the one coming out of brainwash. If you're a Democrat, you're firmly on a plantation with an ankle bracelet on. All right, so merit-based. Most of us got what we want because we're merit-based, you know. And it's a funny thing. If you tell a black person who's a big DEI advocate that the only reason why they got their job is because of DEI, they get offended. They get offended. I'm qualified. Well, if you're qualified, then you mean merit matters to you, right? You know, the village, and the Democrats, the village is responsible. Socialists, the village is responsible. If you're a conservative, you're personally responsible for your actions and the people under your purview. You know, you Democrats, Okay, they mock Title IX. They want to destroy Title IX so chicks with dicks can do the same thing as women can do. Right? Title IX was a hard-fought thing for biological women so they could compete on the same level as men for the monies, scholarships, athletics for women, not chicks with dicks, women. You know, so I'm telling you, so I don't see how anybody who's, even if you're just some kind of minor Christian, I don't see how you could vote for the shit that the Democrats are, especially the far left that run the party now. I don't see how you could vote for any of these people. Because all of this shit on that list will come back in droves if they fucking get back into power. People will be fired for misgendering people. They're going to go ahead and get Mark Zuckerberg and all of the social media platforms to start censoring people again like they did. Remember, Zuckerberg came out and admitted that the Democrats bullied him, a multi-billionaire, into, the filtering out speech that they didn't like. Same thing on Twitter. So I'm just saying, so you choose. Who loves America more? Who loves America and an American way of life more? I think the choice is clear. I really do. I don't think it's even close. So this is just me spitballing out loud. I dropped the link down there. We can argue back and forth, or you could just hear me rant. I got some more, though. I'm not finished. Maybe when I told BMU I was going to take the night off, I had some shit to do. Maybe that's what I should have did. Yeah. Maybe I would have been better off. Oh man, shit. I just think that we're in a bad way, and especially when I look at Black folks. We can't. It seems like we can't get from under the same things that keep us down. It seems like we just can't get over it. So I got another thing for you guys. All right. So here we go. My young lady, let me just stop this and share her. I know a lot of people like April Chapman. Now, she says a lot of things that I agree with. And this one we're in lockstep because I might even mentioned it. And why, why this disrespect that we get from the Democratic Party has to stop. So we're in lockstep. And everything she says, we're going to play a few minutes of this. We're not going to play 32 minutes of it. We're going to play it.
That I believe that Black America, Blacks in America, we are so done being treated like we live on some political plantation. Y'all, them days are over, okay? And some folks are actually mad. They are mad that the folks who used to be the help is starting to wake up. That's the only way to keep people from believing that you are the help. You have got to assert yourself, and you have to teach them that you are free. That's the main message I wanted to drive home. The people are mad that there are individuals, Black Americans, who are saying, I'm done being your political pawn. I'm done being your electoral serf. So the only way to get them to believe it, you've got to assert yourself, and you got to teach them that you are free. But you can't do that if you're going to continue to wallow in the pity of the past. First of all, it's a path and a past that you've never even experienced. And yet you're walking around with this woe is me. Remember what they had did to us. And you remember how we were shackled and how they used to beat us. And I'm like, you ain't never been, half of y'all ain't never even got a spanking as a child, let alone, especially them Gen Zers and Alphas, y'all ain't been spanked. Yeah, I could tell you ain't been spanked. You've been raised wrong. So I don't even understand how your generation has any remote connection to we were slaves and the subjugation and the oppression. Cut it out. You're unserious. But the point is, no other people group in the world, not just in this country, in the world, walks around celebrating their oppression and dwelling on the oppression. And my message is simple. It makes you look weak. It makes you look weak, and you will never, ever, ever exercise the muscles of liberty if you continue to dwell on the time when you was in Egypt, when you're supposed to be dwelling on how you were brought out of Egypt. Like we're not in Egypt anymore. And so I said what I said. We are not victims by default. We are Americans. And you don't have to like this, but people are not oppressed and subjugated because they're Black or because they're Asian or because they're Hispanic. You're oppressed because you're weak. And you can continue to wallow in that weakness and give your oppressor some sort of alleged power by constantly acknowledging it, or you can assert yourself and teach your former masters that.
Well, all right, Anissa. Jewish people they don't let you forget the Holocaust, but they are not victimized by it. They take advantage of it. They take advantage of it. They inform people of their past, but they look towards the future. That's why they permeate almost every society on the world. You could probably study the Jewish community in almost every society around the globe, Europe, China, Africa, New York. There's a commonality there. So we use slavery as an albatross around our neck. If I was to say they put that as a weight on other people's neck, and just tell you hey, listen, this is where we're coming from. I mean, there's an eloquent way of saying it, but it's not the same. Their Jewish thing, the way they wield their victimhood is not the same. It's just not. So, and I think you know it.
You were free. And if you can't handle any of that and the responsibility that comes along with that, then fine, go on over there and hug a DEI manual and cry and beg and whine and cry way over there. Because the rest of us, we are so looking ahead. We are looking ahead and we are excited about what the future holds, because the future is where it's at. You can't even go back and re-adjudicate what happened in the past. I'm not saying act like it didn't happen. I'm saying stop wearing your oppression like it's a badge of honor because you're out here, you sound crazy. No, you're not the only people group that's been subjugated, but you are definitely the only ones that wear it like it's a badge of honor. The Jews were subjugated, and they don't talk about what it was like in Egypt and how Pharaoh was just whipping on their backs and they had to make bricks without straw. They talk about, look what the Lord did. He brought us out of Egypt. He saved us and freed us. That's what you celebrate, not what happened in Egypt, because it was bad. And like an abused woman, if you're going to sit and replay over and over and again what he had did to you, you will never be free. You will never be healed. You will stay stuck in the same position, and you'll be confused trying to figure out why you can't move forward. It's because you keep wallowing in the past. That's a message for somebody in case you missed it. This is why you're no further along than you were 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah, blacks pretty much. A lot of people have the same mentality they've had almost 60 years ago. Pass it down generation to generation and ignore all the progress that we've made because the mindset has still haven't freed us to do as much as we can do. Some of us, yeah, but too many of us, no.
Because you keep wallowing in what they had did to you, holding on to a spirit of bitterness and unforgiveness, yet you You claim to be a Christian. Nobody believes you. Your whole life is manifest grievance, demanding that pay attention to me because look at what they have did to me. While the world is passing you by, everybody's passing you by. Get the message. Now, here's what we're going to do. I want to react. I'm going to play briefly some of the clip from the Faulkner Focus. And then I will finalize kind of like everything that I want to say. If I could just get the full screen up. All right, here we go. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't know why the heat is on. It is 73 degrees in here. I'm burning up, about to die. It's not a hot flash. It's not, because I got that under control. But it is hot in here. All right, let's take a listen. Well, wrong. This ain't right. There we go. Shout out to Harris Faulkner for having the vision to want to, even if it was just for a small bit of time, to highlight the rise of Black conservatives. And she wanted to do it within Black History Month. So take a listen.
Of Black Americans who continue to do great things. The latest census data show about 195,000 Black-owned businesses in the United States, employing some 1.6 million workers. So that's the economy. And in the nation's military, about 18% of active duty service members are Black Americans across all branches. And in political leadership in America, a growing embrace of the Republican Party and more generally of American conservatism. In the current Congress, there are 5 Black Republicans. That matches the record set in 2022 through 24 for the highest number of Black GOP members since the Reconstruction era more than 150 years ago. Now, when it comes to casting a ballot, so here we are with all the voters. What does that look like? President Trump's share of the Black vote grew significantly from 2016. And you can see much of that was driven by Black men.
Listen, we need to pause right there. Y'all look at these gains from 2016 to 2024. Look at this total down here. Men, 14%. I don't know what happened in 2020, but then look at this 25%. I have long been saying that the restoration of some sort of civility, normalcy, and logic and reason being restored back to the Black community, it's gonna have to come from our men. I hate to say this is bad, but sadly, too many of us females, we're too far gone. We are. We don't even realize, some of us do, but we don't even realize the psyop that has been played on us to where we are so far ideologically disconnected from our male counterparts that it is almost impossible for the Black man to find a suitable helpmate that looks like him for him to pair bond with, because we are orangutan crazed feminists who can't manage our misery. We submit to no one, and we are just the most rebellious people group, the most rebellious. And so to me, when I examine these numbers, it makes sense that the lead charge is taking place by men. And I just wanted to celebrate this. This is a highlight that should be celebrated. And I believe it has a lot to do with the masculine mystique that is currently operating in the warehouse, the White House, not the warehouse. I don't know what the warehouse is, but the White House, I know what that is. I can explain this. Now I get it. I had a brain freeze. We can explain this dip because 2020, well, this is actually Trump support. I don't know if this is when he ran against Biden. I have a hard time believing this, but if this is what they're saying, what the numbers are, it is what it is. I know right around here, a lot of women were red pilled during this time. So the men were already on a trajectory, but here a lot of the women were red pilled. And then in this last election, I was told, I thought this number was upwards of 20%, but they're saying 16%, but Black men 25%. I'm gonna tell you what it is. I just called it like it is. At this point, if you are Black and you are male and you are still ideologically on the left, I am compelled by no other reason but observable reality than to assume that you are homosexual. I didn't stutter. I said what I said. Because if you're okay with having your child being able to be transitioned without your permission, or someone else's child being transitioned without your permission, and you're voting for all these freak nasty perverted policies, it seems like the Democratic left is obsessed with sexual perversion. What? I don't know a man who is a heterosexual that doesn't have a visceral reaction to like, what? How? Let this get into the politics. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm telling you, it's effeminate, just debauchery, whoredom, all the things that are anti-human flourishing is what they are celebrating. And men with common sense are like, that is not me. Sorry, that is not me at all. I didn't mean to interrupt. Let me let this continue to finish.
Your screen. Some voters began to see the Democrat Party taking their support for granted. A lengthy New York Times piece written after the last election lays out how the Harris-Walz campaign didn't even bother to court the Black vote until it was too late. Here's a quote. The chairman of a county Democrat party in rural Georgia with many Black voters said this. The Harris campaign's Get Out the Vote operation had been non-existent, even as he had pleaded for resources. He told the Times, quote, they did nothing, absolutely nothing. They thought those Black voters are going to come home. They will vote for Kamala Harris regardless because she is a Black woman. President Trump took no vote for granted. A bit of his second inaugural address here.
As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it.
kinds of negotiations that never work.
In the middle of all the propaganda, sometimes a little bit of reality.
Oh man, I was done. Listen, I'm sorry, I was on mute, but let's go.
Slips through the cracks.
I think that it is imperative the Democratic Party wake up and get past their dislike of Donald Trump, the President Trump, and their feelings of international conflicts going on. This is about national security. This is about what is possible in the Middle East. This is about being a good neighbor, good partner to the Gulf states and what their aspirations are. This is about supporting the people of Venezuela. This is about dismembering our relationship with, or not dismembering, but resetting our relationship with China. Right now, 55% of the oil production that Iran produces goes to China despite sanctions. You want to support the people of Ukraine, you want to end that war, you have to, there is no getting around dismembering this Islamic Republic. It is non-negotiable. It is not a want to have, it is a have to have. And it's not just for the Iranian people. I think you have to trust the Iranian people. We know this government better than anyone else. When you dismember and decapitate this regime, you are going to see a change in the Middle East, in Venezuela, in China, in Ukraine. And I think, quite frankly, their ideology has really, it's caused a lot of problems for us worldwide. We need to take it seriously. And I think at this point, we have a tremendous opportunity. This will be like ending the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall. This is a transformational moment for humankind, for security. And as an American, this.
She said it twice because, and I think Dana Bash's face is killing me. She said, as an American, twice, because I think a lot of times when the Democrats hate Trump so much, they forget that they're Americans. You know, and I believe she's of Iranian descent. And she's just giving them a whole geopolitical lesson right now on why the regime has to change. And Trump just needs to deliver. If he just bombs and goes away, it's not going to be effective.
This is in our interest to complete it. So I am a Democrat. I have been a huge Democrat. I am incredibly disappointed with my party. I do not see myself in them in this moment.
Oh my God. Did you see Dana Bash's face? Like, just go back, rewind the clip, and just stare at her face the entire time that they're talking. She was forced to sit there and listen to a Democrat who actually had a logical view on her own party and how it pertains to the global stage. She couldn't take it. She could not. Her face was priceless.
It sure was. It was priceless. It was. It was priceless. So listen, again, it's up to the individual to decide, how much you love this country. But policies matter, not the characteristics of the people in charge. If you're a Christian, I guess you have to believe that there was only one man who walked the earth without sin. The rest of us have failings. And the point really is this. If you're looking for virtue in your leaders, you're looking for the wrong thing. We don't want them to be murderers and rapists and those kind of things. But the point really is that if you look hard enough, there's skeletons in all of these guys' closets. So what's the policies? What's best for the country? And, you can go back through this thing and look at my list. And my list will tell you, and I didn't make the list up. It's just true. What was going on in the 4 years of Biden and where we are now from day one when Trump said, none of this bullshit I'm going for. Now, a lot of his stuff was changed just by executive order. So the executive orders aren't going to really stick past his administration if there's a Democrat president. But if there's a Republican president, maybe they'll get some more stuff codified. But the truth of the matter is, we can't go back to the wokeism, to the, this whole bullshit of our country being run by the least of us. It just can't happen anymore. One of the things about the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we all should be partaking in that. And we get into issues when your happiness or your pursuit infringes upon somebody else's. So if you're making up pronouns and shit and everybody else has to say your stupid ass pronouns, that shit's an infringement. It was like, the only equivalent to some of you, if you'll remember, when somebody tried to push this Ebonics bullshit, whatever that was. Can you imagine somebody trying to force you to speak like a fucking idiot? Stop. So it's the same principle. There's got to be a high bar to be an American, and even if you want to keep your cultural mores, you shouldn't be able to lower the bar just to satisfy you. Anyway, so I just got one more thing, and then I'm going. This was short, man. I knew I was going to be around for a long time, and I rambled. I don't think anybody wanted to come up. So I do, of course, have my last tribute to the country. And of course, I'm going to use AI to do it, not the last tribute, but for this show, I should say. Where's it at? This is incredible. Where is it? Okay. Other than that, while I'm finding this thing, we'll have, where is it? Okay, I don't know where it's at. Oh, wow, this disappeared. I had something for you guys, and I don't know where it went. Here it is, here it is, here it is. Okay. All right. All right, here it is. You know me, always have to come out with a bang. There you go. All right, so this is the end. And after this is just for everybody. It's the sister, and she's going to talk about how much she loves the country.
From the mountains high to the valleys low, where the rivers run free, the wildflowers grow. From the shores of the ocean to the deserts wide, every heart beats proud with a spirit inside. And oh, America, America, you're a tapestry so grand, with colors of freedom painted across the land. In every sunrise and every starry night, you shine with hope, you burn so bright. In the bustling cities and the quiet towns, and the laughter and love that dead people found. From the Golden Gate Bridge to the shores of Maine, in the warmth of your heart, we dance through the rain. And oh, America, America, you're a tapestry so grand, with colors of freedom painted across the land. In every sunrise and every starry night, you shine with hope, you burn so bright. No, America, America, you're a tapestry so grand, with colors of freedom painted across the land. In every sunrise and in every starry night, you shine with hope, it's so bright. full love and compassion carry the flame in our hearts forever. America's the name.
And with that, everyone, I'm going to go back to my business. Thanks, BMU, for coming up and giving me those last words of my funeral music. And everybody who stopped by, even for a second, and just said everybody else. You know, hey, this is the world according to your favorite baby boomer. You could have your own worldview. But
You are shining herald of Michael B. Jordan.
You know, you could have your own worldview, but that's it. All right. So with that, I'm going to say good night. All right. Hopefully this might be a hard stop, but I'll see you guys later next time.